A girl had just learned she was inheriting tens of billions in assets, and less than a second later, she choked to death on a pile of dog dung out of sheer excitement. But when she opened her eyes again, she had somehow turned into the young heiress of a powerful, prestigious family. She thought she'd finally get to live out her days lying flat and ignoring the world. But one sentence from her adoptive mother made cold sweat break out all over her. "Gu Qing, you wild little brat, did you really push Dang Dang down the stairs on purpose?" Gu Dang, Gu Qing. Weren't these the names of characters from a novel she'd read in her previous life? What's more, she had transmigrated into the fake heiress, Gu Dang. In the original story, Gu Dang was a vicious female second lead. Not only did she treat her adopted brother like a living blood bag to torment, she also used every dirty trick imaginable to bring down the real heiress, Gu Qing. Little did she know, her target was secretly a formidable elder sister with countless hidden identities. In the end, the fake heiress reaped what she'd sown. The male lead's true villain cut off her fingers, and she died a miserable death by the roadside. And she died right in front of her own mother. Everything went according to plan. The mother ended up believing the real heiress was the one behind it all. Watching her adoptive mother fiercely corner the person beside her, the little tea mistress felt her heart shatter into pieces. On one side was the hidden female lead she'd falsely accused, and on the other was the deranged villain who was about to chop off her fingers. How did things fall apart the moment the game began? Might as well just ruin it completely. Whoever wants this eldest young miss title can have it. To change the tragic ending from the original story, she immediately decided she had to cling tightly to this powerful thigh and salvage the relationship, forcing an awkward smile to explain herself to everyone. It was me. I tripped and fell down the stairs myself. It had nothing to do with my beloved sister pushing me at all. Little did she know, the moment those words left her mouth, her mother's blood boiled even more. Dang dang, you don't need to make excuses for your sister. This is clearly her fault. Meanwhile, just one glance from the elder sister was enough to make Gudong break out in a cold sweat. Why would she react like that? Could the elder sister really think she was some scheming little tea mistress? She grabbed hold of her and pushed her aside. Mom Gu snapped, "Are you still going to argue back? Do you even act like an older sister at all? Can't you learn a thing or two from your little sister?" The little tea mistress, caught in the middle, was sweating buckets, silently praying her adoptive mother would just shut her mouth already. What good does it do you to offend a hidden elder sister, Mom? Right at that moment, the doctor beside them spoke up to remind everyone. Doesn't the house have security cameras? Just pull up the footage and everything will be clear as day. Mom Gu heard this and sneered, "I saw it with my own two eyes. How could that possibly be faked?" But by now, the little tea mistress's heart was pounding from the tension, because that doctor standing right there happened to be the elder sister's trusted confidant. What's more, if she remembered correctly, the elder sister's phone had been recording video the whole time. Could she really be about to get exposed this fast? In a flash of inspiration, she smacked her thigh. Better to strike first and seize the advantage. She quickly spoke up. "Mom, please don't blame my sister unfairly. It really was my own carelessness that made me fall. Besides, my sister's phone was recording video at the time, Mom. If you don't believe me, just check the video on her phone." Gu Ting's hand mid-search for the video froze in place. She knows I was recording? Then why would she still make up that lie? By now, Gudong's mother also realized she'd wrongly blamed a good person, but to save face, she didn't want to admit her mistake outright. "Since Dang Dang has already said so, I won't hold it against you anymore. But from now on, you'd better learn to behave yourself." The crisis was finally resolved, and the little tea mistress let out a sigh of relief. She looked up and happened to catch Gu Qing's gaze. Gudong instantly switched into obedient mode. "Take it easy, sister." At the same time, a servant led in a frail-looking young man. The servant asked timidly, "Is there anything else you need, miss? If not, I'll take young Master Feng Gui back to the greenhouse." She reacted quickly. The original owner of this body had an extremely rare blood disorder. Even the slightest cut would bleed uncontrollably. And Feng Jue was a living blood bag who'd been raised in this house since childhood. After enduring years of brutal, savage abuse, he grew up to become a twisted, obsessive villain. Earlier, just for accidentally breaking a bottle of skincare serum, the original owner had punished him by banishing him to live in the greenhouse. Here it is. Here it is. Isn't this the perfect chance to win the male villain's favor? The things I said before were just in the heat of anger. No matter what, you're still my little brother. How could I possibly let you live in the greenhouse? Go rest properly in your room right now." With that, she reached out and gently rubbed his head. His gentle touch left Feng Jue feeling a little pleased. On the surface, he kept acting obedient, but the instant Gu Dang turned her back, a flash of cold malice crossed Feng Jue's eyes. "My dear sister, what method are you planning to torment me with this time?" That evening, once she was back in her room, Gu Dang's heart, which had been hanging in her throat all day, finally settled. She studied her own reflection carefully in the mirror. She had to admit, this little tea mistress was actually quite pretty, exactly her type from her past life. Thinking back before she transmigrated, she'd also been a wealthy heiress herself. She'd abandoned a fortune worth hundreds of billions without a second thought, choosing instead to become a psychologist purely out of passion. Who would have thought that when her grandfather passed away, he left his entire fortune to her, not giving so much as a cent to his illegitimate child? If she truly could never go back, then no matter the cost, she had to cling on and survive in this world. After mulling it over for a while, she drifted off to sleep without even realizing it. Early the next morning, Gu Dang was jolted awake by her ringing phone. Nguyen Yen. Her cousin was about to arrive, and she realized this cousin was coming over specifically to help discipline the elder sister. Startled, she bolted upright in bed. Seriously, are these people all out of their minds? The moment they open their eyes, all they think about is hurting the elder sister? After washing up, she headed down to the dining room, where a short-haired young woman was already rushing over to greet her enthusiastically. This person was none other than Gu Dang's cousin, Nguyen Yen. She was a talent under the Jincheng Entertainment Company. In the past, in her scramble for resources, she'd flattered and fawned over people more times than she could count. These two were no exception. So she deliberately brought up yesterday's incident. "If you ask me, that adopted daughter of yours really does bite the hand that feeds her. She actually dared to push you down the stairs? That's clearly attempted murder. She should be locked up at the police station." Hearing this, Gu Dang's expression instantly turned cold. "Cousin Nguyen Yen, why are you calling me an ingrate?" Nguyen Yen panicked the moment she heard this. "Cousin, I wasn't scolding you. I was scolding that adopted daughter of the Gu family." "That's right, exactly. It's Gu Qing who's the real heiress of the Gu family, and you're the adopted one." Seeing the family's dark secret about to be exposed, Mom Gu jumped up in a panic to explain. Dang, what nonsense are you spouting? Did your sister force you to say these things?" Inside, the little tea mistress silently cursed her lousy luck. Good grief. These parents are more biased than a slanted planet. And just like that, the next moment, her inner drama queen took over. She grabbed her mother's hand tightly, choking back tears. "All these years, I've stolen her life, enjoying all the luxury of the Gu family alone, while she had to endure so much bitterness and humiliation out there. Now that she's finally home, we absolutely cannot let her suffer even one more moment of injustice, Mom." No matter how biased Mom Gu might have been, hearing such heartfelt words still moved her deeply. So she softened her tone and promised Gu Dang that she would handle this properly. Meanwhile, the cousin standing to the side was practically bursting with glee. "You used to look down on me and mock me as some illegitimate brat. Who knew that one day you wouldn't even measure up to one?" But she also knew better than to get tangled up in this mess. So she decided to play dumb instead. "Cousin, what do you mean by that? What's this about real and fake heiresses? I honestly have no idea what you're talking about." "Must be because your brain's a bit flat, I guess." Before the cousin could fly into a rage, the little tea mistress chimed in as well. "Cousin Nguyen Yen, huh? How can you not understand a single thing? If you've got so much free time, you'd be better off going home and reading some books to expand that brain of yours." With that, she shot a sidelong glance at the person fuming beside her. Turning her head, she mischievously gave the elder sister a wink and a thumbs up. Meanwhile, elder sister Gu just sat there calmly sipping her tea, feigning indifference. But in a moment, when no one was watching, the corner of her mouth curled into a barely noticeable smile. Nguyen Yen was so furious she nearly cracked her own molars grinding her teeth. But thinking about how she'd still need to swallow her pride and ask for a favor later, she forced herself to choke down her anger. "Oh, that reminds me. Cousin, I heard your skincare set got ruined by that little brat. This time I made sure to bring you a brand new one specially." After a round of insincere pleasantries, Nguyen Yen finally revealed her true motive. "I heard the new film the investors are backing has invited actor King Gui. I'm his biggest fan, but I've been in showbiz for ages and still haven't had the chance to meet him. Gudang heard this and patted her shoulder. Cousin, don't be upset. After all, your reputation right now just isn't quite at that level yet. It's only natural you haven't had the chance to meet actor King Gui. The phrase not quite at that level hit like a sledgehammer, striking straight at her wounded pride and making Nguyen Yen see stars from sheer rage. Just as she was about to shamelessly push for more, Gudang waved her hands to see her off. It's about time for my piano practice. If there's nothing else, cousin, you should head home now. In an instant, a flash of venom crossed Nguyen Yen's face. Back when you were the real heiress, I let it slide. But now some knockoff like you dares act all high and mighty? Gudang, just you wait. A little while later, back in her room, cheerful notes danced beneath the young girl's fingertips. Suddenly, a finger pressed down, cutting the melody off mid-note. Looking up, she found elder sister Gu looming right behind her, and the little tea mistress jumped in fright. Sister, why are you here? Don't tell me you've come to settle yesterday's score. Who knew elder sister Gu would simply utter two cold words? Why? Though her question was blunt, Gudang instantly understood what she meant. You're curious why I revealed my real identity? Must be that fall yesterday knocked some sense into that crooked worldview of yours, huh? But instead of paying that flat joke any mind at all, the elder sister just held out her hand, demanding the skincare set instead. Seeing the young girl hesitate slightly, a mocking look flashed across the elder sister's face. Oh, really? You're too stingy to part with even a single skincare set? And here you are, ready to hand over the title of Gu family heiress to me without a fight? Gudang felt a bit flustered. Could it be she actually took my words to heart? And she quietly walked over to the window seat and sat down. But her instincts told her she'd guessed right. She still clearly remembered the plot of the original novel. Of course, she knew the skincare had been tampered with. But elder sister truly lived up to her reputation, able to tell something was off just from the packaging. Only in the original plot, the elder sister never had time to spare for such trivial matters. She'd never bother demanding the original owner's skincare. Could it be, had her efforts to change the story's course actually started paying off? A little later, a beam of sunlight hit her face directly, and elder sister Gu raised a hand to shield her eyes. Only then did she realize with a start that she'd fallen asleep in Gudang's room without noticing. It had been so long since she'd had such a peaceful sleep. Was it thanks to that little girl's piano playing? Right on cue, the little tea mistress sidled up eagerly, fishing for compliments. Sister, wasn't my playing amazing? Elder sister Gu put on an air of arrogance and pushed her away with disinterest. It was fine. If you have time to spare, go practice more. Hearing this, the little tea mistress couldn't help but reflect on herself. Could it be my playing was so bad it left the elder sister utterly speechless in shock? The moment she picked up the phone, the voice on the other end furiously demanded an explanation. What's this business about a real and fake heiress trending online? Explain yourself clearly right now, or I'm calling off the engagement. Being woken from a good sleep by someone else's interruption left Gudang thoroughly annoyed. She cursed under her breath. What a lunatic. And hung up abruptly. She rolled over, turning her back, intending to go back to sleep. But wait. Hold on. Trending search about a real and fake heiress? She scrambled for her phone in a panic, only to find netizens already buzzing with discussion. Someone had leaked the news about the real versus fake heiress scandal. Now she had swept every single top spot on the trending charts. What's more, most of the comments were dripping with sarcasm and mockery. Only then did the little tea mistress snap fully awake. The man she'd just hung up on so bluntly was none other than the original owner's fiancé. In the original story, that scumbag only married her for the massive benefits tied to her status. He even cruelly discarded her after squeezing every last bit of value out of her. She absolutely could not afford to entangle herself with that despicable man any further. Right at that moment, the other party sent another text. Gudang, you little schemer, playing hard to get only works up to a point. Just wait until you actually lose the engagement. Then we'll see if you panic. The little tea mistress read this and was left speechless. Wait, is this guy out of his mind? Very quickly, Mom Gu also received a call from the Tiet family. But instead of calling off the engagement outright, they proposed switching the engagement over to Gu Qing. Mom Gu instinctively assumed her elder daughter Gu Qing was behind this scheme, and immediately had someone summon her. She wanted to confront her directly. How dare she try to steal her younger sister's fiancé? Seeing her adoptive mother about to throw a fit, Gudong quickly urged her to calm down. It was the Tiet family who proposed switching fiancés on their own. This has nothing to do with her at all. Only someone with a ruined reputation could have married into the Tiet family in the first place. It's such a simple matter of self-interest, Mom. How could you not see that? The little tea mistress was once again left speechless by her mother's blatant favoritism. Even knowing this, though, she's an elder sister with hidden power. Why would she even bother looking twice at that scumbag? So she began subtly manipulating Mom Gu's thinking. First, she just came back to the Gu family. She doesn't even know our two families were engaged. So how could she have planned to steal the engagement? Second, you've surely had media contacts suppress the story's momentum, right, Mom? But this trending post is still sitting there in plain sight. Does she have the influence to pull that off? Probably not. Seeing her adoptive mother start to waver, the little tea mistress immediately launched into her next act. Honestly, she's not the only one who knew about this, but cousin Nguyen Yen isn't the type to do something like this either. It's probably just me overthinking it. Mom Gu instantly found this reasonable. That little witch Nguyen Yen, she'd do anything to grab favor. You just turned her down yesterday, so she's definitely out for revenge. Seeing her adoptive mother about to storm off and confront the cousin, the little tea mistress feigned obedience and quickly held her back. My cousin probably just let it slip by accident. She's actually been really good to me. Yesterday, she even gave me a skincare set. My skin's felt so much smoother ever since. Mom Gu heard this and gave a startled jump. What kind of skincare works that fast? Something's definitely wrong. I need to have someone send it in for testing right away. But just as she'd gone halfway there, she suddenly turned back and pulled Gudang into a tight embrace. It's my fault for not protecting you well enough. You suffered from cyberbullying, and now you've lost your engagement with the Tiet family too. It was the first time she'd ever been held so tightly by family, and warmth welled up in the young girl's heart. This mother might be biased, but she really was a good mother at heart. After her mother left, Gudang suddenly felt like she'd forgotten something extremely important. The next moment, she jolted up. If she wasn't mistaken, Feng Gui was getting beaten up right now. She needed to hurry and save him. She quickly threw on some clothes and rushed outside. But before she got far, she brushed past an old man who was stumbling and swaying unsteadily, and the very next moment he collapsed right in front of her. What the heck, catching a scammer in broad daylight? The onlookers began gathering around too. Look how this girl's walking, knocking an old man right over. Judging by her outfit, she's definitely rich. These spoiled second-generation types these days treat human lives like trash. Gudang stood there stunned, eyes wide as saucers. Damn, how do these gossip crowds gather so fast? She stepped forward to check on the old man, only to discover he'd gone into cardiac arrest and immediately knelt down to start chest compressions. Someone in the crowd shouted an accusation. She's just putting on a show, right? What does some little kid know about CPR anyway? Suddenly, a young man stepped out from the crowd. I saw the whole thing happen just now. She never touched him at all. She's only trying to save him out of kindness. Right then, an older man also stepped up to help. He matched Gudang's compression rhythm, working with her to perform CPR on the injured man. Finally, the ambulance arrived. Thanks to timely medical care, the old man pulled through the danger. It was only then she learned the older man who'd helped save him was named Kai Min Hui, director of the Jin Cheng Psychiatric Hospital. Gudang was deeply grateful for his help. She also made sure to thank the young man who had spoken up for her. The young man suddenly blushed. I only told the truth. It wasn't much help, really. She glanced at her watch. Damn, is it really this late already? Her little blood bag was probably still getting bullied by that group. So she hastily said she had somewhere to be and rushed off to take her leave. Sister, I'm Kwai Si. The young man tried to introduce himself, but the words scattered into the wind before he could finish. Right at that moment, the manager came running up, panting heavily. Oh, my little ancestor, please stop running off like this. Director Tran has been turning the whole place upside down looking for you. But the actor king from the Gui family looked utterly annoyed. He'd already had that second female lead who kept faking falls into him kicked off the set, hadn't he? My little ancestor, that's not going to look good. She was placed there by the investors after all. The actor king just smirked coldly at that. I'll deal with the investors. Replace her right now. Meanwhile, in another part of the story, inside an abandoned factory. Feng Jue was cornered against a wall by a group of thugs. "This little kept man dares to reject our young miss. Looks like you've grown tired of living." "What's so great about your young miss anyway? And you dare come steal what's mine?" The group of hooligans all whipped around to look, only to see a small, delicate girl who looked frail and helpless. "Well, well, this little one's quite the looker. While we're all having fun here, you'd better scram. Or maybe, sweetheart, you'd like to stay and play with us for a bit." As he spoke, one of the scumbags reached out to grope her. Feng Jue glared at him, his eyes cold enough to cut to the bone, as if looking at a corpse. But before he could act, Gudong had already thrown the man over her shoulder, slamming him to the ground with a thud. She then stomped down hard on his hand, grinding her heel in coldly. His agonized screams echoed throughout the factory. "I'm not singling anyone out here. What I'm saying is, all of you here are garbage. I'm on my way home, so all of you had better scram, fast." Being humiliated to this degree by some little brat, how could that big brute possibly swallow his pride? But within just a few minutes, the entire group lay sprawled neatly across the ground. Cleaning up these small fries wasn't even enough to break a sweat. Feng Jue looked up at Gudong, momentarily stunned. As she approached, the cold, sharp look in his eyes instantly melted into gentleness. "It's okay now, little brother. I'm here to protect you." After questioning around, she learned that it was young Miss Wang Vanhan of the Hangvu Entertainment Company who had set her sights on him. After Feng Jue rejected her, she'd furiously hired thugs to kidnap him. Watching Gudong's expression darken with fury, Feng Jue laughed coldly to himself inside. Only 3 days into playing this role and already worn out, this young master has been wearing a mask for years now. He deliberately played the pitiful card, timidly clutching the hem of Gudong's clothes. "It's because I wasn't good enough that I dragged you into this. I made you worry." But to his surprise, Gudong simply reached out and gently stroked his head. "This isn't your fault at all. From now on, if anyone dares to bully you again, I'll make sure to bully them right back for you." This unexpectedly domineering answer left Feng Jue momentarily speechless. It was the first time he found himself genuinely wondering, was Gudong truly trying to protect him, or was she just putting on a show? Right at that moment, police who'd received a tip-off arrived at the scene. Gudong quickly raised her hand to report. "Officer, it's me. I'm the one who called the police. There's a group of thugs here causing a disturbance." The gang of hooligans lying flat on the ground heard this and started wailing frantically. "Officer, this is so unfair. We're the real victims here. This little witch charged in and beat us to a pulp." The officer turned to glance at the frail, delicate girl, then looked back down at the battered, thuggish-looking men groaning on the ground. His voice was full of suspicion. "So what you're saying is, this frail little girl beat down an entire group of strapping young men like yourselves. Is that really your story? Do you have any proof?" "They don't have any proof, but I do. I recorded all of their earlier threats." And with that, the men were dragged away by the police, still wailing about injustice. "You beat us black and blue, and now you're reporting us to the police too? Are you some kind of devil?" Once everything was sorted out, Gudong wanted to take Feng Jue out to eat, so she dragged him straight to the city's most famous restaurant. But no sooner had they stepped through the door than the staff demanded to see a membership card. Gudong inwardly panicked. She'd been so focused on coming here to win the elder sister's favor that she'd completely forgotten this place required membership. But she remembered the elder sister often came here for business meetings. Guess she'd just have to take a gamble. "Hello, I'm here looking for someone." "She's here to see me." Suddenly, a mocking voice rang out from behind them. "I was wondering why you weren't answering my texts. So it turns out you heard I was at Jinyang Xuan and came all this way just to shamelessly track me down." But Gudong looked at him with a puzzled expression. Who are you exactly?" The man's smile instantly froze on his face. "Gudong, stop pretending. I know you're upset about the broken engagement, but who can you blame? You turned out not to be the real heiress of the Gu family after all. Still, I have absolutely zero interest in that country bumpkin Gu Qing either." If Gudong still hadn't figured it out by now, well, that was that. Turns out this must be her former fiancé. So it was true. Novels really weren't lying when they said male villains always had waterlogged brains. "Gudong, what's that supposed to mean? Who are you calling waterlogged?" "Exactly what it sounds like. I'm saying you have no brain, because neither my sister nor I would ever bother giving you a second look." Not far away, elder sister Gu, sipping her tea, gave a slight nod. That's not wrong at all. The male villain flushed bright red at that. Why did her defiant glare look so oddly adorable right now? She's not my guest. Get her out of here. I don't want her ruining my meal. Right at that moment, the receptionist received a phone call. Yes, understood. I'll have them leave immediately. The male villain's lackey grew even more smug hearing this. Hurry up and scram. Don't embarrass yourselves any further. They've already been told to kick you people out of here. But then, to everyone's surprise, the receptionist walked right up to the male villain instead. Young Master Tiet Dak, your membership card was just revoked by Jin Yang Xuan. Please and your friends leave immediately. The others heard this and started shouting that it was outrageous. But the receptionist simply explained this was the owner's decision. With that, she directly called security to drag the group outside. After that, she bowed respectfully to Gudang. Please, both honored guests, come inside. Gudang secretly thrilled with joy hearing this. She couldn't believe the elder sister was really here. And on top of that, the elder sister was even letting her ride her coattails. As long as she was shameless enough, she'd surely be able to win the elder sister's favor. A little later, they entered a luxurious private dining room. Inside, besides the three of them, there was also a young man. Judging by his outfit, he had to be the elder sister's protege. Tajia, ranked 7th on the dark web's hacker leaderboard. At that moment, elder sister Gu slid the menu over. Order whatever you two want. No need to hold back. Gudang thought to herself. This was the perfect chance to score some points. So she put on an incredibly obedient expression and replied, "A quiet and I are fine with anything, we're not picky." Right, a quiet? It was only then that she suddenly noticed. Feng Shui's hands were covered with needle marks. Only now did she truly understand the meaning behind the words blood bag. She couldn't even imagine how he'd managed to endure it all these years. No one had ever treated him like a human being, and no one had ever cared whether he was in pain or not. So when ordering, she made a point of adding a plate of stir-fried pork liver and 2 cups of rice wine. A little while later, a table full of fragrant dishes was served. In the novel, the signature dishes of Jin Yang Xuan were praised to the heavens, and she had long been craving them. Suddenly, a familiar dish in front of her caught her attention. So she picked up a piece and took a bite. Even though the flavor was even better than in her past life, it just wasn't the familiar taste she remembered. Thinking about how she could never go back again, Gudang's gaze flickered downward for a moment. Suddenly, the elder sister sitting across from her let out a soft chuckle. Didn't you say it was delicious? Or does the great young heiress here look down even on the royal chef's skills? No, I love it. With that, she quickly picked up her bowl and shoveled the food down. Inwardly, she sighed. Goodness, this elder sister was way too observant. She had no choice but to gamble to win her favor. Afterward, she pushed the plate of pork liver over to Feng Shui. A Quiet, this is for you. Eat it, it's good for your blood. Looking at the dish in front of him, Feng Shui paused for a moment, stunned. Then the corners of his mouth curved slightly upward. Thank you, sister. Gudang instantly turned away bashfully. Aw, this kid looks so obedient and adorable. He's making it impossible not to want to pinch his cheeks. Right at that moment, Tajia, who'd been eating with his head down, suddenly burst out laughing. Boss, look at this. Those idiots in the Gu family have paid to suppress the trending post for the 7th time already. The little tea mistress's trending post had just barely dropped, and it got pushed right back to number 1. The elder sister's expression instantly went rigid, and she turned away to sip her tea, pretending not to have heard anything. Tajia was confused for a moment. Huh? Why isn't boss praising me? Gudang put on an act of great excitement, playing along. Wow, big brother's so skilled. Getting praised by a pretty girl, Tajia grew even more thrilled. He rambled on, boasting about all his exploits, even loudly declaring he'd make sure that little tea mistress Gudang ended up utterly disgraced. Talking this much, he suddenly remembered he hadn't introduced himself yet. My name's Tajia. Little fairy, what's your name? My name is Gudang. Ha ha ha, who knew our little fairy shares a name with that little tea mistress? It's not a coincidence at all. Gudang smiled and stared straight at Tajia. I am the fake heiress of the Gu family that's currently trending. I'm exactly the little tea mistress Gudang you were just talking about. Tajia heard this and froze completely. Trembling, he pointed at Gudang, then turned to Guqing in tears. Boss, please tell me this isn't true. Little fairy, are you really that tea mistress? Meanwhile, Guting was already so embarrassed she wanted to dig a hole and disappear into it. That's right, this little one is my sister Gudang. Wait a second, did the elder sister just call me her sister? So she'd just publicly acknowledged this half-sister of hers. Looks like the elder sister was actually pretty easygoing after all. Meanwhile, Tajia was completely losing it in shock. What is this heartwarming sister scene? What the heck? Wasn't this supposed to be a real versus fake heiress showdown to the death? Wasn't this supposed to be a savage aristocratic drama? Turns out the clown here this whole time was him. Boo-hoo-hoo, boss. I was wrong. It's all that idiot Kai Lam's fault for leaking false information. I'll take down the trending post right now. I'll refund all the money to the Gu family, too. With that, Tajia hastily opened his laptop, ready to get to work. But the very next second, his face went completely pale. His computer had just been hacked by someone else, and the culprit was none other than the number 3 hacker on the leaderboard, going by the alias Kwai. Numbers 1 and 2 were definitely the male and female leads of the original story. But this number 3 seemed to just be some passerby character. Gudong couldn't understand why he'd been targeted. It's fine, boss. Even if my computer's down, I still have my phone. I'll take down our little sister's trending post right now. But right after that, he was shocked to discover that every single trending post related to Gudang had already been wiped clean, seemingly ages ago. He turned to Guqing in confusion. Guqing simply shook her head. I'm busy eating. I don't have time to bother with such trivial matters. But to his shock, the very next second, even his own phone got hacked. This blatant provocation infuriated him so much he jumped up, swearing an oath to never coexist under the same sky as Kwai. However, no one noticed that Feng Jue, sitting quietly beside them, had been swiftly scrolling through his phone the whole time. It was only now that he finally set his phone down. The meal soon came to an end. Knowing the elder sister still had matters to attend to, Gudang took Feng Jue home first. Leaving Jin Yangxuan, the two of them strolled leisurely down the street. Under the sunlight, Feng Jue's hand, covered in needle marks, looked even more unsettling. As the adopted son of the Gu family, having endured such cruel abuse for all these years, did he really feel no resentment at all? Was it because of his overly gentle nature, or was there something far darker hidden beneath the surface? If it was still early enough, there might be a chance to fix things, but if it was already too late, then her 10 fingers might not be so easy to keep. The more the little tea mistress Gudong thought about it, the more chills ran down her spine. She was determined to get to the bottom of this today, no matter what. A quiet, ever since you were little, you've given me more blood than I can count. Look me straight in the eye and tell me honestly. Do you resent me? As she spoke, she secretly began weaving a hypnotic spell. Gradually, Feng Ju's eyes began to glaze over. I don't resent you, sister. My blood has always belonged to you anyway. Gudong was confident her psychological hypnosis technique had never failed once. In other words, everything Feng Jue had just said was the absolute truth. Good grief. The Gu family's brainwashing was terrifying. What kind of nonsense is my blood has always belonged to you? That's absolutely heartless. Still, hearing her little blood bag say this, she let out a sigh of relief. As long as he hadn't turned dark yet, there was still time to fix things. Right after, she snapped her fingers to lift the hypnosis. Come on, let's go window shopping together. She silently vowed to herself from now on, she'd make sure to properly make it up to Feng Jue, to avoid the day he'd turn dark and end up sending her off to the afterlife with his own hands. But little did she know, right behind her back, where she couldn't see, Feng Jue's expression had suddenly turned dark and terrifying. Earlier, to keep himself from being hypnotized, he'd clenched his palm so tightly it had drawn fresh blood. A little while later, once they reached the shopping mall, Gudang began wildly spending money like there was no tomorrow. She even bought him several sets of 5 years of real exams, 3 years of mock tests, college entrance exam prep books. She had a grand time shopping. But Feng Jue ended up turning into a pack mule, weighed down with bags large and small, looking exactly like a walking coat rack. He even, while stepping into the elevator, transformed himself into a flower-guarding envoy, carefully shielding his sister with outstretched arms to protect her. With them standing so close together, the atmosphere suddenly turned strangely charged. A woman standing nearby couldn't help but chime in to play matchmaker. Aya, this boyfriend of yours is so thoughtful, sweetie. You'd better treasure a man like this. Ma'am, he's not... The little tea mistress tried to speak up and explain, but just then the elevator doors slid open right on cue. The crowd poured out, leaving the two of them standing there frozen and awkward, the tension thick enough to choke on. Ahem, ahem. Gudong quickly changed the subject. So all the things we bought today, do you like them? Feng Shui's gaze was pure and gentle in a strange way. As long as it's something you gave me, sister, I'll like anything. In that moment, Gudong's face flushed as red as a ripe tomato. This little brother of hers really was too cute. If she hadn't already used hypnosis to confirm his feelings were genuinely innocent, she might have suspected he was deliberately flirting with her. That night, the moment Gudong stepped through the front door, she heard a heated argument echoing from inside. Gu Qing, do you have any manners at all? Out playing until this hour and only now dragging yourself home? Next time, are you planning to just stay out overnight without coming home at all? Hearing this, Gudong couldn't help but click her tongue in disbelief. What is this? Does the Gu family even have a curfew? However, elder sister Gu merely frowned slightly. I really don't have much in the way of manners, do I? After all, I've always had a mother who gave birth to me, but never raised me. Mom Gu heard this and immediately understood the biting sarcasm behind her daughter's words. In a fit of rage, she grabbed the teacup off the table, ready to hurl it straight at her. Gudong panicked, sensing disaster, and rushed forward as fast as she could to intervene. But she was still a step too late, and the teacup landed with perfect accuracy, striking elder sister Gu right on the shoulder. Oh no, it's over. All that hard-earned goodwill just went up in smoke instantly. Sure enough, elder sister Gu sneered coldly. Well now, Madam Gu, that excellent obedient daughter named Gu Dong you keep praising has just made her grand return home too? If you're so bold, why don't you say those same words to her again, right to her face? This icy way of addressing her as Madam Gu completely enraged Mom Gu. How dare you speak to your own mother like that? Seeing her raise her hand to strike again, Gudong panicked and rushed forward to hug her tightly. Mom, please calm down. She just got back home and isn't used to things yet. Give her some time to adjust to the new way of addressing you. She immediately redirected her mother's anger elsewhere. Oh, right, Mom. Did the test results come back yet for that skincare set cousin Nguyen Yen gave me? Sure enough, the mere mention of Nguyen Yen instantly made Mom Gu forget her anger toward the elder sister. That wretched Nguyen Yen really does have a poisonous heart, doesn't she? How could Nguyen Yen do something like this? You've always treated her so well. Well, that's exactly why she's jealous of you, isn't it? Good thing that A Quiet accidentally broke the last one she gave you. Exactly. Thank goodness for little A Quiet, otherwise your face would be a mess right now. Gudong chimed in agreeably, but inwardly she couldn't help but grow thoughtful. Could it be that Feng Jue breaking her skincare wasn't an accident at all? Had he already sensed something was wrong? Once she'd finished soothing her mother, Gudong skipped off happily, ready to head back to her room. But the moment she got upstairs, she found the elder sister standing guard outside her door, like some fierce deity. Don't you think you're forgetting something? Forgetting? Forgetting what exactly? Could the elder sister be here to settle scores with her? Who knew elder sister Gu would simply hold up her phone and wave it in her face? The bill from Jinyang Xuan. Are you paying by QR code or cash? Here you are, a wealthy elder sister sitting on a fortune worth hundreds of billions, and you're still stingy over a little meal money? This storyline is seriously off. Seeing Gudong standing there dumbstruck, elder sister Gu raised an eyebrow. The little tea mistress immediately caught on to the situation. Aya, sister, if you wanted my chat contact, you could have just said so directly. Elder sister Gu shoved her firmly aside. Enough chatter, hand over the money. Just as elder sister Gu turned to head back to her room, her phone suddenly buzzed with a notification. You've joined a group chat. Turns out Gudong had just added her to the family group chat. But what greeted her eyes instead were a string of hostile messages from her idiot little brother. Elder sister Gu immediately hit leave group without a moment's hesitation. This left Gudong absolutely furious. Being sabotaged by that dim-witted little brother of hers was really going to be the death of her. Right after, she suddenly received a bank transfer from her adoptive father. Along with it came a text message. About the Tiet family calling off the engagement, your dad heard about it. I'll make sure you get justice for this. And that ungrateful wretch Nguyen Yen, too. Once I'm back, I'll definitely get justice for my daughter. Reading this, Gudong felt a mix of emotions welling up. This set of parents might have somewhat skewed values, but they truly doted on her more than even a biological daughter. In the original novel, the Gu family eventually fell apart entirely. The father, overwhelmed by mental collapse, jumped off a building to his death. Reading the story back then, she'd just seen them as villains who deserved their fate. But now that their roles had been reversed, Gudong could feel the depth of their love, so much so that she could no longer bear to stand idly by and watch. To avoid such a tragic ending, might as well let the chosen one be Gudong herself. Straighten out everyone's twisted worldview while she was at it. She immediately texted her adoptive father back. The Tiet family calculates every little detail. Calling off the engagement might not even be a bad thing, Dad. But with this scandal trending so publicly, the Gu Group's stock price is bound to take a hit. So it'd probably be best to have the PR department put out a statement clearing my sister's name. Reading her daughter's message, Mom Gu fell into deep thought. Thinking about the Tiet family's boundless greed, he simply couldn't hold back the anger burning inside him any longer. He immediately called the Tiet family directly. The moment he opened his mouth, he used the choicest words to greet their entire household. Fine, call off the engagement then. Don't you dare dream of eating swan meat with a toad's mouth, you Tiet family lot. After venting, he texted Gudong, "Don't worry, sweetheart, tomorrow we'll go find that wretched Nguyen Yen and settle the score." Gudong read her adoptive father's message and felt warmth spread through her heart. Kids really are easy to please after all. The next day, the entire Gu family marched over to the Nguyen family's home to demand answers. Seeing their attitude, Nguyen Yen inwardly panicked. Could the skincare tampering have been exposed? Sure enough, just as she'd feared, looking at the test report in front of them, her parents' faces went pale. The skincare box, heavily contaminated with heavy metals, turned out to be a product manufactured by the Nguyen Group itself. Seeing how tense things were getting, the second aunt quickly brought over tea and apologized on Nguyen Yen's behalf, explaining that her daughter must have accidentally grabbed a defective sample by mistake. So you're saying this was a sample product? Then this is even more serious. The latest sample from the Nguyen Group exceeding heavy metal limits. Doesn't that mean the entire batch could be contaminated too? Suddenly finding themselves buried under this shocking scandal, the Nguyen family broke into a cold sweat. Nguyen Yen's father hastily played the family card. It really is Nguyen Yen's fault this time. I'll apologize on her behalf, but out of respect for our family ties. And since Dang Dang wasn't seriously harmed, why don't we just let this whole thing go, And does Nguyen Yen not have a mouth of her own, that her uncle has to apologize on her behalf? This matter absolutely requires Yen to personally apologize to Dang Dang. Make her post a public apology using her own account. Hearing this, Gudong was secretly thrilled, silently giving her adoptive mother a thumbs up of admiration. Nguyen Yen, meanwhile, was utterly panicked. Once this scandal broke, her entire entertainment career would be finished. Seeing the Nguyen family hesitate and stall, Mom Gu's expression darkened immediately. So it seems the second uncle and his wife have decided to protect Yen after all. Abusing your position for personal gain, tarnishing the company's reputation. If this reaches the grandfather's ears... Before Nguyen Yen could open her mouth to argue back, the next second her own father slapped her hard across the face. This wretched, ungrateful child. Let's see if I don't beat you to death today. Gudong couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Turns out the second uncle wasn't stupid after all. He knew full well this couldn't be allowed to drag the company down, so he had no choice but to force Nguyen Yen to shoulder all the blame herself. Seeing Mom Gu's attitude remain so firm, the second aunt had no choice but to turn and plead with Gudong instead. Dang Dang, sweetie, look. About that skincare thing, I've already disciplined Yen on your behalf. You've always been such a kind, well-behaved girl. Could you find it in your heart to forgive her sister? Before Gudong could even open her mouth, Mom Gu had already stepped in front of her protectively. Enough with the acting. Don't try to use moral guilt to pressure my Dang Dang. Doesn't Yen know full well how that fake heiress label got pushed onto the trending charts in the first place? Meanwhile, Nguyen Yen kept up her innocent act. Auntie, what are you talking about? I really don't understand at all. Suddenly, an elderly voice, weak yet commanding, rang out. If it's Nguyen Yen's fault, then she must bear the consequences herself. The one who had just arrived was none other than the head of the Nguyen family, the same grandfather who had always harbored a deep resentment toward Gudong. The second uncle scrambled over obsequiously to greet him, but the old man completely ignored him. Instead, he shot the little tea mistress standing nearby a sharp glare. If this scandal hadn't blown up online, would you people have kept hiding little Qing's true identity forever? Since things have come to this point, everyone should return to the life that's truly theirs. Hearing the old man wanted to send Gu Dang away, Mom Gu's expression completely changed. Dang Dang is only 17 years old. She's still not even an adult yet. If she leaves the Gu family, how is she supposed to survive? The corner of Gu Dang's mouth twitched slightly. Her adoptive mother made it sound like she was some helpless disabled child. Hearing this, the old man grew even more furious. So that child has had to endure so much hardship all by herself out there, and none of you plan to properly compensate her for it? With that, the old man turned to Gu Qing with a look full of tenderness. Little Qing, has life at the Gu household been good to you? If your parents ever treat you badly, come find your grandfather. Your grandfather will stand up for you. The little tea mistress silently pieced it together, so this old man had never liked the original owner to begin with. Then again, honestly, she could completely understand why. Because in the original story, the granddaughter he doted on most was none other than his eldest granddaughter, Nguyen So. And yet, the original owner had conspired with Nguyen Yen, spreading vicious rumors online smearing Nguyen. So as a homewrecker, subjecting her to such severe cyberbullying that she had to retire from the entertainment industry entirely. And due to the overwhelming emotional blow, she ended up developing severe depression on top of it. When the grandfather found out, he flew into a rage, which was why he despised both Nguyen Yen and Gu Dang so intensely. But to someone like her, who had been a psychologist in her past life, depression of this severity was actually a fairly minor matter. She walked over and calmly sat down beside Nguyen So, picking up the cup of tea her cousin had just brewed and taking a sip. I genuinely admire you, cousin. Being personally taught the art of tea brewing by grandfather, though honestly, this tastes pretty much the same as when I just throw something together myself. Nguyen So's expression darkened. If you're comparing this to your own tea brewing skills, then I suppose I really am no match for you. The grandfather's blood pressure shot straight up the moment he heard this. Gu Dang, that's quite enough of your reckless mouth. You should know that in all of Jincheng, little Qing's tea brewing skills are considered top tier. Let's see what talent you have to back that up. The little tea mistress blinked her big innocent eyes. What if I happen to win? Grandfather, shouldn't there be some kind of reward involved? The old man gritted his teeth. If you win, I'll give you my most treasured purple clay teapot set. But if you lose, you'll apologize to little Qing immediately. Gu Dang happily agreed without hesitation, then turned with a cheeky grin toward her sister. Sister, want to make a little bet too? If I lose, I'll play the piano for you every single day. And if you win? Gu Dang's eyes instantly lit up. I want the Jin Yang Xuan membership card, and I've been craving their food for ages. With that, everyone sat down to begin the tea brewing contest. And Gu Dang, while outwardly brewing tea, was actually already secretly steering Nguyen So's psychological state. Through the misty veil of tea steam, she slowly spoke up. Speaking of which, just a couple of days ago, I also got savagely torn apart by netizens. All sorts of vicious comments online, truly hard to stomach. But none of that ever affected my life at all. Because I know as long as you explain everything clearly, the cyberbullying will naturally fade away on its own. People sometimes just run into unfair situations. Cousin, don't you think that's true? It wasn't the first time Nguyen So had heard such comforting words before. Of course, she also understood exactly what her cousin was trying to do. But unexpectedly, Gu Dang's words seemed to carry some kind of magical power, leaving her with a sudden feeling of having a weight lifted off her chest. The psychological suggestion complete, Gu Dang pushed a cup of tea forward. The tea's ready. Everyone, please give it a try. The old man lifted the cup and took a sip. The flavor was smooth and refined, with a clean, sweet fragrance. He couldn't help but praise it. Delicious tea. Even better than little Qing's brew. The little tea mistress smiled slyly. Well then, I guess I'll accept grandfather's purple clay teapot set as my thanks. The old man snapped back to reality instantly. Oh no, how did he just let his true feelings slip out like that? Seeing Nguyen So looking a little self-critical, Gu Dang put on a bright, sprightly tone to comfort her. Cousin, don't be upset. Grandfather definitely won't blame you. If anything, blame me for being too outstanding. The old man heard this and turned pale with frustration. Get out of my sight right now. I don't want to see your face anymore. But to everyone's surprise, Gu Dang suddenly stood up and bowed deeply before Nguyen So. What happened before was my fault. I'm sincerely apologizing to you now. This sudden sharp turn genuinely left Nguyen so frozen in shock for a good 5 seconds. Did this little tea mistress drink the wrong medicine today? I don't accept your apology, and I'll never forgive you. But then she glanced over at her grandfather, whose face was etched with such heartfelt sorrow. If you're willing to give up that teapot set as compensation, then I suppose I'll reluctantly stop holding this against you. Of course, deal. But you have to promise me one thing. You have to return to the entertainment industry and join a reality show. Nguyen So's face showed clear surprise, seemingly not expecting Gudang to make such a request. What, cousin, don't you dare make a comeback? Who said I don't dare? I accept. Gudang was secretly overjoyed inside. Truthfully, this was also a way to help treat her cousin's depression. While psychological therapy could help lift her spirits, if she truly wanted to overcome her depression for good, she needed to step back out into the world and face her fears head-on. Sister, I won. Hurry and give me my reward. Come on, I'm dying of impatience. Watching the two of them walk away, the old man's view of Gudang had already shifted. This kid is actually pretty interesting. Sitting in the car on the way home, the little tea mistress kept whining to elder sister Gu the entire ride. Reward, reward, reward. Sister, where's my promised reward? Elder sister Gu's ears were ringing from all the nagging, so she had no choice but to pull out her Jin Yang Xuan membership card to shut the girl up. Thank you, sister. You're the best. Just as Gudang opened the car door, she saw Feng Jue already waiting outside for her. Sister, it's raining hard. I came out to walk you in. His tone remained gentle and calm as always, not a single trace of complaint despite having waited so long. Snapping back to reality, Gudang only now realized this frail-looking young man who always called her sister was actually so much taller than she was. But in a hidden corner they couldn't see, elder sister Gu watched the two of them walk off, her brow furrowing unconsciously. Meanwhile, in another part of the story, Nguyen Yen was absolutely fuming. She made me apologize, but she never specified when, did she? Are the people upstairs blind or something? Surely her hand just slipped a little, right? The cousin's face is fine, isn't it? But it was precisely her attempt to be clever about it that caused the whole thing to explode online. Even so, there was still a group of trolls deliberately stirring up public opinion to attack Gudang, demanding she obediently accept the apology and forgive Nguyen Yen. But her mother wasn't the least bit worried about it. Dang dang, I've already prepared a surprise for you. The post should be up by now, go check it out. The moment she pulled up the trending page, she saw that the Trio Fong Entertainment Company had unilaterally announced they were terminating Nguyen Yen's contract, while also affirming that Gudang would forever remain the true heiress of the Gu family. Gudang was so moved that tears streamed down her face. So this was what it felt like to be favored and loved by parents. She silently vowed to herself that she would absolutely protect this family well. She would never let the tragedy from the original story happen. Right after, she shared the Trio Fong Entertainment Company's post herself, adding the caption, "Never forgiving, ever." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Nguyen Yen was having an absolutely miserable time. All because of her own petty cleverness, she'd not only crashed the Nguyen Group's stock price, she'd also gotten herself kicked to the curb, contract terminated. With a loud crash, the mirror shattered into pieces. Nguyen Yen was so furious she nearly ground her molars to dust. If the Gu family wants to burn every bridge, then don't blame me for showing no mercy either. Without a moment's hesitation, she picked up her phone and dialed a number, quietly plotting her revenge against the Gu family. The next day, Gudang dragged Feng Jue out with her, planning to treat him to a proper meal at Jinyang Xuan. But no sooner had they stepped through the door than they saw her mother in the middle of an argument with someone. What's going on here? Did some new plot twist just appear out of nowhere? Madam, I had an appointment with Ms. Caroline first. Cutting in line on me like this is hardly fair play. But Madame Hua just tilted her chin up arrogantly. How is this cutting in line? I simply wanted to treat Ms. Caroline to a taste of Jinyang Xuan's specialties. Madame Gu, you don't even have a membership card. How could we possibly leave an honored guest standing around waiting? Who says I don't have a membership card? Gudang stepped forward, brimming with confidence. Mom, you left in such a rush that you forgot to bring your card, that's all. Madame Hua glanced over and let out a scornful laugh. Dang dang, you really think just waving around any random card gets you in here? As she spoke, she waved her own membership card in the air. This is what a genuine membership card actually looks like. If you're going to forge one, At least make it convincing. Gudang was stunned too. No way, don't tell me. Could she really be getting exposed this fast? Could it be the elder sister deliberately set her up? Just as she stood there frozen in confusion, the manager of Jin Yangshuan strode over. Please, Madame Gu and Miss Gu, right this way. Madame Hua's face instantly darkened. On what grounds? That card in her hand is clearly a fake. The manager's expression remained perfectly calm. Madame Hua, you must be joking. Madame Gu's card is obviously not a fake. It's actually our S-tier VIP membership card here at Jin Yangshuan. We still have an important guest to attend to, so please make yourself comfortable, Madame Hua. Madame Hua wasn't ready to give up yet and threw in a sarcastic jab. Madame Gu, going through all this trouble to entertain Ms. Caroline? Could it be your jewelry company is running into some trouble? If business is really that bad, feel free to just say so to me directly. My company would even be willing to consider buying out your jewelry company. Madame Gu replied coldly. My jewelry company is running perfectly fine. There's no need for Madame Hua to concern herself with it. Seeing this, Gudang stepped in to smooth things over. Mom, let's just go inside. Quiet and I will go in with you. It was only then that Madame Gu noticed the well-mannered young man standing behind her daughter. She thought to herself, wasn't Dang Dang always so hostile toward that boy from the Fong family? And besides, what exactly was the story behind her daughter's membership card? But right now, she didn't have the mental bandwidth to think about it too much. The most urgent matter was convincing Caroline to help her. Soon after, the manager led everyone to a private VIP room. Despite having witnessed plenty of extravagance in her time, Gudang still couldn't help but be dazzled. Wow, this opulent decor, this high-end interior. You really had to give credit to the elder sister's status. From now on, she was definitely going to cling tightly to this golden thigh. Her adoptive mother took the menu and politely handed it over to Caroline, using fluent English to invite her to order. But Caroline merely glanced over it briefly and frowned slightly. It turned out that Jin Yangshuan's menu was incredibly diverse, with many dishes she'd never even seen before. So she hoped Madame Gu could recommend a few dishes for her. However, this seemingly simple request turned out to put Madame Gu in quite a bind, since on previous visits here, someone else had always handled the ordering. So she wasn't particularly familiar with Jin Yangshuan's cuisine at all. Gudang, who had always been skilled at reading the room, immediately noticed the awkward look on her mother's face. She stood up right away, walked over to Caroline, and introduced herself fluently in French, then skillfully suggested a few of the restaurant's signature dishes. Hearing her native tongue, Caroline felt an instant sense of closeness. The cold expression she'd worn earlier gradually softened. However, Madame Gu couldn't help but feel a bit puzzled. Dang Dang, since when did your French become so fluent? Oh, well, I've had some free time lately, so I've been practicing a bit on my own. She's probably just naturally gifted with languages, picking things up faster than most people. Soon after, an array of exquisite delicacies was served on the table. Sensing the moment was right, Madame Gu finally addressed the true purpose of this gathering. Ms. Caroline, I truly admire the angel jewelry collection you designed yourself. I was wondering, would you be willing to design an exclusive piece for our company? However, Caroline flatly refused. I'm terribly sorry, Madame Nguyen, but until I complete the entire angel collection, I won't be designing jewelry for any other company. Besides, my trip to China this time is only meant to seek out some fresh sources of inspiration. It was only then that Gudang suddenly remembered. Caroline was a world-renowned jewelry designer. Any piece that passed through her hands could sell for an astronomical price. Meanwhile, her mother's jewelry company was being fiercely squeezed by Madame Hua, teetering right on the edge of bankruptcy. Having exhausted every other option, her mother had turned to Caroline as a last resort. According to the original plot, after being flatly rejected, her mother, desperate to save the company, resorted to reckless and illegal methods, ultimately ending up imprisoned. It seemed like it was time for her to step in personally. Only by winning Caroline's help could she save her mother from repeating that same tragic fate. Having been bluntly turned down, Madame Gu grew a bit flustered. Please reconsider. After all, the angel collection is such a massive, long-term project. If you could just spare a little time to design for us, I'd gladly pay you double the usual fee. Actually, make that triple. Caroline's expression immediately hardened, and she said coldly, Madame Gu, what kind of person do you take me for exactly? This has nothing to do with money at all. To me, art is my true love. I've never craved designing jewelry for money, and I despise even more being pressured by someone else's wealth or power. Gudang buried her face in her hands, utterly speechless. Oh, dear mother of mine, why does every single word out of your mouth seem to shoot yourself in the foot? Nervous her adoptive mother might dig herself into an even bigger hole, Gudang quickly grabbed her hand tightly. Just leave this to me, Mom. Right after, she turned to Caroline with an extremely serious expression. I might be able to bring you the inspiration you need for the angel collection. Her adoptive mother panicked hearing this. Dang, please don't cause a scene. Mom knows you want to help, but your good intentions alone are enough. Don't cause any more trouble for me here. But to their surprise, Caroline suddenly looked incredibly intrigued. If this little girl can really help me find that inspiration, then forget about just one piece of jewelry. I'll hand over the entire angel collection to your family. Really? Gudang's eyes instantly lit up. It should be noted, the angel jewelry collection was extraordinarily valuable. It had even risen to become the pinnacle of the entire jewelry industry. However, Caroline simply assumed this little girl was just bragging. Just as she was about to offer some gentle advice about young people needing to stay grounded, she saw Gudang flash a confident smile and hand over her phone. Your previous designs have always captured the image of a pure, holy angel. But I've always felt like something was missing, like it never quite reached true perfection. Could it be because it was missing the shape of a fallen angel? Caroline stared intently at the photo on the screen, muttering to herself. Just as Gudang was about to swipe to the next photo, Caroline suddenly grew excited. Grabbing her hand, this one, it's exactly this one. You have no idea how much inspiration this has just given me. Gudang stood frozen in place, eyes wide, jaw dropped. What on earth is going on here? Clearly, in the original story, Caroline was supposed to see the cool, aloof photo of her sister to spark the creation of that fallen angel, one with a beauty caught between light and dark. Sure enough, the moment she saw the photo of her sister, Caroline's eyes lit up with excitement once again. Quick! Send it to me right away. I'll take both photos. Let's add each other on WeChat. Should you scan my code or should I scan yours? Standing off to the side, her mother watched, utterly speechless. What in the world is happening? Is this really the same arrogant, icy designer Caroline from just moments ago? Having received the photos, Caroline's mood was absolutely delighted. Dear Madame Gu, please prepare your funds. You're getting the angel collection. For the sake of your little angel here, I'll even give you a 10% discount. All the way until they walked out of Jin Yangshuan, Madame Gu still felt like she was floating on air. Dang, Mom's not dreaming right now, is she? Did Caroline really, truly just agree to sell us the angel collection? Gudang nodded firmly. Of course it's real, Mom. Don't worry. Suddenly, a sharp, biting voice rang out. Aya, Madame Gu finished her meal so quickly? Or did your business negotiation fail, and you managed to anger Madame Caroline into storming off? Haha, I'm afraid this news is going to disappoint you all. We've already signed the contract, and she's already agreed to transfer the angel collection to our family instead. Madame Hua acted as if she'd just heard the funniest joke of her life. Talk about delusions of grandeur in broad daylight. And you actually thought you could get your hands on the angel collection? All of us here witnessed it firsthand. You're the one who angered Caroline into storming off. As she spoke, she struck a triumphant, arrogant pose of victory. Given the sorry state of your jewelry company right now, it's only a matter of time before bankruptcy comes calling. Tisk, Madame Gu, Tisk, I'm still keeping my eyes peeled, just waiting for the day I get to take over your jewelry company. Before Mom Gu could even get worked up, Gudang had already flashed a mysterious smile. She spoke slowly and calmly. If Madame Hua doesn't believe us, then how about a bet with my mother? There's nothing I wouldn't dare do. It's just that, Madame Gu, you don't exactly have much left to wager with me. Let's face it, your jewelry company barely has any designers left to speak of. Then let's use the jewelry company itself as the wager. If I lose, the jewelry company is all yours, no questions asked. But if I win, you'll have to return every single designer to the jewelry company, plus compensate us with 5 of your company's top designers on top of that. A flash of smugness crossed Madame Hua's eyes. She thought to herself, this Nguyen Tuyet Lin really is still as easy to bait as ever. Afterward, since Mom Gu was busy preparing the contract with Caroline, she told Gudang and Feng Jue to head home ahead of her. The little tea mistress had barely turned around when she saw Feng Jue looking exactly like an abandoned puppy. Feng Jue insisted he was fine, but his face couldn't hide the obvious hurt underneath. After a whole day of running around, the moment Gudang got home, she flopped straight down onto the sofa, completely oblivious to the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. Suddenly, something pressed cold against her head. A chilling voice from elder sister Gu drifted into her ear. "So, you thought it'd be that easy to just sell your own sister out, huh?" Gudang inwardly groaned, thinking, "I'm doomed. How could I have forgotten the elder sister also happens to be a weapons expert on top of everything else?" So the very next second, she instantly switched into her soft, pitiful bunny mode. "Sister, please hear me out first. I only accidentally sold that one photo of you, that's all." But elder sister Gu completely ignored her pitiful act. Instead, she resolutely pulled the trigger, and out came a small burst of sparks from the barrel. Only then did Gudang dare to let out a sigh of relief. "Phew, turns out it was just a lighter. But sister, why are you even carrying a lighter around with you?" Elder sister Gu simply blew out the small flame coldly. "So, have you practiced piano today?" Not yet. I'll go practice right now." Honestly, as long as this elder sister didn't pursue the earlier incident, she could practice piano for however long it took. Her slender fingers gently glided across the piano keys. "All right, today I'll play Moonlight Fragments." After a period of quiet observation, still though, she just couldn't figure it out. Gu Qing was still so young. Why did she suffer from such severe insomnia? Could it be from carrying too many burdens and identities, leading to sheer mental and physical exhaustion? Meanwhile, Gudang was still lost deep in her own thoughts. When elder sister Gu, sitting by the window seat, suddenly spoke up. "You just played 3 wrong notes there." Gudang heard this and made an exaggerated, shocked face, eyes wide and jaw dropped. She looked up and happened to meet elder sister Gu's gaze head-on. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Gudang gave a sly little smile. "Because my sister looks so pretty, of course." With that, she lowered her head again and continued playing, completely oblivious to the faint blush creeping across elder sister Gu's cheeks. The moment the song ended, elder sister Gu suddenly asked in an offhand tone, "Are you going out with Feng Jue again today?" Gudong nodded obediently, still not understanding why the elder sister would even ask that. But unexpectedly, elder sister Gu's tone suddenly turned cold. "From now on, you'd better keep your distance from him." While heading downstairs and passing by Feng Jui's room, elder sister Gu reached out and pushed his door open. The moment he saw who had arrived, Feng Jui's gaze instantly turned cold as well. Elder sister Gu looked at him with a meaningful expression. "That piano playing earlier, was it pleasant to your ears? She played it just for me on purpose, you know." Hearing this, Feng Jui's brow furrowed slightly. But right after, he pointed at the bags of shopping piled up behind him. "Do you see all this? Every single one of these is something she personally went out and bought just for me." In an instant, the air was thick with the smell of gunpowder. Both of them looked as if they could tear each other apart with their glares alone. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Gudang, who was lying around minding her own business yet somehow still catching stray bullets, suddenly let out a series of sneezes in a row. "Why does it feel like someone's talking behind my back right now?" It wasn't until dinner that her adoptive mother recounted the entire day's events, then launched into an endless stream of praise, singing Gudang's praises to the heavens. This left the little tea mistress so embarrassed she wanted to dig a hole and disappear into it right then and there. Gudang quickly waved her hands, insisting all the credit belonged to her elder sister. "That membership card was something she gave me, and even that photo was taken by her too. It was actually thanks to seeing my sister's photo that Caroline found her inspiration for the Fallen Angel piece." Mom means that country bumpkin Gu Qing. How did she even get a Jin Yang Xuan membership card in the first place? And that photo was probably just a coincidence too. If Dang Dang hadn't known how to make good use of it, it never would have become so valuable, would it? Gudang let out a helpless sigh. It seemed she needed to find a way to improve the relationship between the elder sister and her adoptive mother. So, she decided to change the subject entirely. She asked her father for 2 guest spots on a reality TV show, wanting to invite Nguyen So to join her. Hearing this, Dad Gu grew a little worried, since Nguyen So had been getting a bad reputation lately. It might be best not to get too close with that girl. "But Dad, I really want to join, honestly. Besides, don't I have you backing me up anyway?" Right. Dad will make absolutely sure you don't get cyberbullied again. Speaking of which, that reminds me, something strange happened. That money used earlier to suppress the trending post ended up getting refunded back. Gudong quietly glanced over at her sister. It was almost certainly the elder sister who had to Jia refund that money. Soon after, the reality show Raising Glasses in the Countryside officially announced its guest list. Besides Gudong and Nguyen So, Nguyen Yen and her boyfriend somehow also made it onto the list. Ever since the love triangle scandal between Nguyen Yen, Nguyen So, and Tao Tuan Nin, fans on both sides had been at each other's throats like fire and water, refusing to coexist. Now that all three of them were appearing on the same show together, the comment section was truly a battlefield ablaze. Wasn't that fox spirit Nguyen So already dragged through the mud enough to force her into retirement? Why is she still shameless enough to show her face on TV trying to clean up her image? Meanwhile, at the Nguyen family mansion, Nguyen So stared blankly at the vicious comments piling up on her phone. She looked utterly exhausted. Suddenly, a series of urgent knocks sounded from outside her door. So, are you in there? Grandpa's worried sick about you. This is all because of that little witch Gudang's mischief. Don't worry, sweetheart. Grandpa absolutely will not let her off the hook. My lord, Miss Gudang just arrived and knocked on the door. Old Nguyen's face instantly darkened. What is she doing here now, showing her face again? Throw her out for me. Wait, hold on. Never mind. Let the dog off the leash instead. Go release Tuyet in the yard for me. He knew perfectly well that Gudang had been terrified of dogs since childhood. It was only because Nguyen Tuyet Lin had begged him repeatedly, time after time, that he'd finally agreed to keep Tuyet chained up in the back of the house. He could let that little witch's past mischief slide, but daring to bully his precious so meant she needed to be taught a lesson she'd never forget. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Gudang had just stepped through the door. She heard a burst of commotion from behind, right after a massive, ferocious dog came charging straight at her. Hearing the terrified scream echo up from downstairs, the old man's heart lurched with a start. He'd only just given the order. How could Tuyet already have been released so quickly? By the time he'd scrambled down the stairs as fast as he could to check, he froze completely in shock. There was Tuyet, normally so fierce and aggressive, now happily wagging his tail and licking the hand of his granddaughter. Grandpa, look, this little white doggy is so adorable. What little white doggy? His name is Tuyet. Even Gudang herself hadn't expected that a tiny bit of hypnotic suggestion could turn an animal so docile this quickly. Right after, she picked up the severed chain. Grandpa, come look at this. The cut here is so clean and flat. Someone clearly cut this on purpose. The moment the old man saw this, his face turned dark and grim. He'd only meant to give Gudang a bit of a scare. He never imagined someone would actually go through with something so despicable. Investigate this immediately. Find out exactly who went near Tuyet today. Very quickly, the butler pulled up the security camera footage. The one who'd cut the chain and drugged Tuyet turned out to be Aunt Lu, the housekeeper. Aunt Lu dropped to her knees, wailing that she'd been wronged. My lord, it wasn't me, I swear. I never had any intention of harming Miss Gudang. If you have something to say, save it for the police station. Old Nguyen's expression was utterly grim. This time, he had truly flown into a rage. Once things were settled, he suddenly remembered Gudang was still standing there awkwardly. So, what exactly brings you here today? Why, obviously to visit grandfather for some tea. The old man panicked the moment he heard this. He clutched his teapot protectively. Don't even think about setting your sights on my tea set. Gudang smiled awkwardly. Actually, I'm here looking for my cousin Nguyen So. She promised she'd join me for the reality show. It's the Raising Glasses, Gazing at the Green Fields program happening in 2 days. You mean Director Tran's livestream show? Nguyen So was stunned. This was a show even A-list stars couldn't get a spot on. She pulled up her phone to check again. And sure enough, there really was a related post on the trending charts. Gudang, just how much do you hate me exactly? Getting me torn apart by netizens wasn't enough. Now you're dragging your own father's investment down into the mud, too. The little tea mistress was utterly speechless. Seems like this cousin wasn't just suffering from depression, but from full-blown persecution paranoia as well. Cousin, calm down first. Take a closer look at who else is on the guest list. But the moment she actually looked, her whole body practically burst into flames with rage. Nguyen Yen, Tao Tuan Nin. You want me to watch that scumbag and his mistress act all lovey-dovey? Gudang, you're basically trying to stab a knife straight through my heart. The little tea mistress's mouth twitched. This persecution complex must really be in its final stage now. Cousin, open your eyes wide and take a proper look. Who else is on that guest list? The moment she spotted the name Gudang on the list, a look of doubt crossed Nguyen So's face. What are you scheming now? Do you actually want to watch me make a fool of myself in front of everyone? It's over. It's really over. This cousin's paranoia is truly beyond saving now. Fine then, go ahead and think I just want to watch you become a laughingstock. Come on, come out with me for a bit. Let's get you properly prepared to be my laughingstock then. A little while later, the two of them arrived outside a luxurious beauty clinic. Look, showing up on TV standing next to Nguyen Yen looking this disheveled would be the real embarrassment. With that, Gudang pointed toward a shabby-looking alley nearby. But actually, the place we're heading into is right here. A little while later, when the two of them stepped out of the beauty clinic, even a dog passing by couldn't help but glance back at them more than once. Gudang proudly showed off to her cousin. So, how's that? Amazing, right? Let me tell you a secret. This beauty clinic is run by a big boss. The masks here can't even be bought on the open market for any amount of money. But just as the two of them were about to leave, a sharp, biting voice suddenly rang out from behind them. Well, look at this, isn't it, cousin dear? Which way did the wind blow today that you'd show your face out here on the street? The one who'd appeared behind them was none other than Nguyen Yen. As she spoke, she clung tightly to the arm of the man beside her. Cousin, it's been a while since you've seen Tuan Nin, hasn't it? We're getting engaged next month, you know. Before Nguyen So could even react, Gudang, standing beside her, let out a mocking laugh. Cousin Nguyen Yen, you really do have too much time on your hands. Oh? Has grandfather still not called you back to answer for your crimes yet? Following the plot of the novel, Aunt Lu should have already confessed and given up Nguyen Yen by now. Sure enough, no sooner had the words left her mouth than Nguyen Yen's phone started ringing. On the other end, the old man's voice was seething with rage. You wretched, ungrateful child, get back here right now. Hanging up the phone, Nguyen Yen's face went pale, and the look she shot Gudang carried even more venom than before. Don't you dare think that just flattering grandfather will make you the real heiress. Gudang, you just wait. The scumbag boyfriend also looked at Nguyen So with a face full of disappointment. I never imagined you and your cousin could be this despicable. Good thing I broke up with you in time and chose Nguyen Yen instead. Watching the two of them walk away, Nguyen So collapsed weakly onto the ground. Do you think I look ridiculous, don't you? Falling head over heels for such a scumbag like that. Inside, Gudang was secretly celebrating, even though dredging up all this heartfelt pain would surely hurt a lot. But given her cousin's current condition, this was actually a good thing. So she quickly and gently offered some advice. Cousin, with everything you have going for you, handsome young men are practically a dime a dozen. You could grab one blindfolded. That scumbag definitely deceived you somehow. He really did deceive me. It turned out, back when Nguyen So first entered the entertainment industry, she had concealed her true identity. At the time, she had neither acting talent nor any powerful backing, so no matter which production she joined, she always ended up getting pushed around and exploited. It was during her most disheartened and desperate moment that Tao Tuan Nin had always been there by her side to keep her company. Very quickly, the two of them fell deeply in love. Not only did she honestly confess her true identity as a wealthy heiress, she even secretly helped him build up countless connections behind the scenes. But never in a million years did she imagine that Tao Tuan Nin had known her true identity all along, and had only approached her deliberately because of it. After using her up, he then went and got tangled up with Nguyen Yen behind her back. Talking about this, tears began welling up in her eyes, threatening to spill over. Gudang quickly spoke up to comfort her. Cousin, just relax. They're about to face karma very soon. With that, ignoring her cousin's bewildered expression, she dragged her forcefully back the way they'd come. Being pulled along briskly like this, Nguyen So suddenly felt like this girl in front of her wasn't quite as unlikable as she'd thought. The two of them had barely stepped through the door of the Nguyen family home when they saw the old man pointing straight at Nguyen Yen, cursing her out savagely. First you bullied Nguyen, and now you're scheming to harm Gudang too? Do you not want to live in this house anymore? Dad, please calm down. There must be some kind of misunderstanding here. What misunderstanding? Aunt Lu has already confessed everything. You're the one who paid her 1,000,000 yuan to cut that chain. If you keep talking back, get out of this house right now. Gudang, she's clearly just some fake adopted daughter. So what if a dog died? Someone like her could never possibly measure up to my own flesh and blood granddaughter. Hearing this, Nguyen So stole a glance at Gudang. It seemed like her cousin's recent life hadn't been easy either. Ever since her fake heiress identity had been exposed, who knew how many cold, judgmental stares she'd had to endure? And yet, Gudang looked utterly unbothered by any of it, since those people were about to get their faces slapped very soon. Suddenly, a furious shout rang out from behind them. "Who are you calling a fake?" Like I said before, Dang Dang will always be the true young lady of the Gu family. Meanwhile, an illegitimate child like Nguyen Yen, what right does she even have to compare herself to my Dang Dang? It turned out the ones who had just walked in were none other than Gudang's parents. Old Nguyen's eyes went wide with shock. "Oh, sister, brother-in-law, what brings you two here?" Mom Gu paid him no mind at all, marching straight over to confront Nguyen Yen instead. "If we hadn't come today, were you planning to keep covering for the person who plotted to murder Dang Dang? If this matter isn't properly resolved today, we'll just have to settle it in court instead." With those words spoken, old Nguyen understood immediately that things today were not going to end peacefully. With that, he spun around and struck Nguyen Yen with a resounding slap. "This ungrateful little wretch! Didn't you learn your lesson last time?" It's fortunate that Gudang wasn't hurt at all this time. Otherwise, you'd be spending the rest of your life behind bars paying for it. While scolding her, he shot a meaningful glance at his wife. "What are you just standing there for? Get over here and say something to smooth things over." Getting the hint immediately, Madame Nguyen spoke up. "Sister, brother-in-law, little Yen knows she was wrong. Please don't be upset. We'll make sure to properly discipline her once we're back home." "Ah, right, Dang Dang, sweetie. I'll make sure she apologizes to you right away. Please be generous enough to forgive her just this once." "Uncle, you're being far too polite. Of course I'll forgive her." The moment these words left her mouth, even Nguyen So could hardly believe her own ears. These people had nearly gotten Gudang killed. Could a single apology really wipe the entire matter clean just like that? But before her uncle could even feel relieved, Gudang had already coldly brushed his hand aside. "I might forgive my cousin, but I absolutely will not forgive an uncle like you, who spoiled his daughter rotten time and time again without ever teaching her right from wrong." Her uncle flew into a rage the moment he heard this. "Gudang, what exactly are you implying?" Exactly what it sounds like. A spoiled child reflects a failed parent. Nguyen Yen has caused so many enormous problems like this. Shouldn't both her parents pay some price for it too, to make things fair? Nguyen Trihao hastily pulled out the family loyalty card to try and dodge blame. "My family has already humbled ourselves to apologize. What more do you want, girl? Are you seriously trying to send my entire family to prison to satisfy yourself? If an apology were enough to settle things, why would we even need the police?" Mom Gu immediately stepped in front of Gudang to shield her. "I want you to divorce Tu Van and have both mother and daughter kicked out of Jincheng immediately." That Nguyen Yen, doesn't she think that just because she's the real heiress, she can bully my Dang Dang so mercilessly like this? Today, I'm absolutely going to make her carry the shameful label of an illegitimate child, too ashamed to ever show her face in public again. Tu Van had struggled hard to climb from mistress to legitimate wife. Naturally, she'd fight tooth and nail rather than agree to a divorce. Seeing Mom Gu's attitude remain so unyielding, she had no choice but to turn and beg Gudang once more. "Dang Dang, sweetie, we really do know we were wrong. Please talk your mother down, please. Dang Dang, could you really bear to watch your uncle and aunt's family fall apart like this?" But before she could even finish her sentence, Nguyen Trihao was already being dragged up by the collar by Mom Gu. "If you don't kick that mother and daughter out of this house today, I'll make sure your entire family ends up in prison instead." With no other options left, Nguyen Trihao turned to beg the old man for help, only to get slapped hard across the face by him instead. "How dare you show your face here asking me to settle this for you? Years ago, I already forbade you from bringing that illegitimate brat into this family. Now get both mother and daughter out of this house immediately." Pushed into a corner with no way out, Nguyen Trihao had no choice but to grit his teeth and agree to an immediate divorce. This time, both mother and daughter completely panicked. They wept and begged the old man for one more chance. Watching this scene unfold, the corner of Gudang's mouth curled into a small smile. She knew Nguyen Yen would never let this go easily, but for now, it felt like a satisfying release of pent-up anger. Nguyen So warned Gu Dang not to get too complacent just yet. She knew all too well how deeply vindictive Nguyen Yen could be. Sooner or later, she'd find some way to get her revenge. "Cousin, are you actually worried about me?" "Who says I'm worried about you? Just get out of my way." In sharp contrast to the chaotic mess unfolding at the Nguyen household, the atmosphere at the Gu family was warm and harmonious in a strangely comforting way. "Dang dong, sweetie. Those people didn't make you bleed or anything earlier, did they?" "Earlier, Dad didn't even really lay a hand on anyone yet. Let Dad transfer you some pocket money to cheer you up." Right after, her phone buzzed with a transfer notification for 5 million. But no one noticed that the way Nguyen So looked at Gu Dang had started to grow noticeably gentler. It seemed like Gu Dang really had changed. Everyone seemed to be doing better day by day. Maybe it was time for her to finally step out of the shadow that had been haunting her too. And this reality show that Gu Dang had invited her to join might just turn out to be a fantastic opportunity. Before long, Nguyen So officially posted an announcement on social media about her comeback. Gu Dang immediately shared the post as well. Employees at the company reposted and liked it in support. Even though she felt this was making a bit of a fuss over something small, the feeling of being loved and cherished by others really was incredibly happy. Right at that moment, her scatterbrained little brother suddenly called. The moment she picked up, the voice on the other end started ranting wildly. "Sis? Everything was fine, so why are you suddenly going off to film a reality show? Did that witch Gu Qing force you into leaving the house?" Gu Dang was left utterly speechless. Seriously, what on earth is going on inside this kid's head? Why does he always blame everything on the elder sister? She quickly explained that no one had bullied her at all. She'd chosen to join the show entirely on her own. But her little brother was convinced she was just putting on a brave face. "Sis, just take good care of yourself. Once I'm back, I'll make sure that country bumpkin Gu Qing gets kicked out immediately." "Oh, is that so?" Sensing the faint trace of resentment radiating from elder sister Gu Qing behind her, the little tea mistress Gu Dang was so frightened she nearly jumped out of her skin. Thanks to this reckless little brother of hers, she might actually need to start planning her own funeral now. "Sister, please hear me out. Please let me explain. I truly never intended to kick you out at all. It's that idiot Gu boy who misunderstood things. This Gu family has always rightfully belonged to you anyway. If anyone should be the one to leave, it should be me." Elder sister Gu Qing raised an eyebrow, staring intently at the little tea mistress. "So are you actually planning to leave this house?" Wait, hold on a second. Why does this elder sister's focus seem to be on entirely the wrong thing here? Although she'd never let it show in front of the Gu family, she truly did have plans to eventually leave this house. Gu Dang had her own principles to live by, which meant she couldn't bring herself to shamelessly enjoy everything as though it were naturally hers, the way the original owner had. Enjoying everything that rightfully belonged to someone else, and the reason she'd decided to stay a little longer at the Gu household was simply to help this family avert their looming crisis, to change the tragic fate that had befallen her adoptive parents in the original story. She planned to quietly slip away once the time was right. She just never expected that this elder sister would see right through her plan. Clearly, elder sister Gu Qing had also seen through her true feelings, knowing full well she wasn't ready to let anyone in on this secret just yet. The elder sister simply left her with one final line, "Your call," before turning and walking straight out of the room without a second glance back. Very soon after, the show Raising Glasses and Chatting officially began filming. The production crew had adopted the currently most popular format of live streaming. The moment the three fixed hosts stepped out, the comment section instantly exploded. What the audience was most curious about was the mystery guest. But at this point, the MC started being deliberately vague. Of course, the mystery guest had to be the last one to appear. Following the MC's introductions, the special guests came out one by one. And when it was Nguyen Yen and Tao Tuan Nin's turn, the comment section flooded with mockery and sarcasm. "Ha? This shameless couple actually has the nerve to show their faces on air? I heard Nguyen Yen got kicked out of her family too. Wonder if that's true." Seeing these comments, Nguyen Yen ground her teeth in fury. If she hadn't been kicked out of the house and hadn't needed the contract breach compensation money that badly, she'd never have shown her face out here at a time like this. Just as the MC was about to introduce Gu Dang, a man's silhouette suddenly appeared from behind. Well, What's this? Is everyone disappointed to see me? The one who just arrived was none other than the entertainment industry's top idol, actor King Gooey. In an instant, the comment section exploded. The mystery guest turned out to be the actor king himself. Given his current status, why on earth would he agree to film a show with a bunch of second-tier stars like this? Truthfully, when he first received the invitation, his manager's initial reaction had been to decline. Everyone else had paid their way onto the show. The investors clearly only invited him to clean up the mess. But then upon seeing the guest list, the actor king agreed without a moment's hesitation. The moment he arrived at the scene, the actor king scanned the crowd, but couldn't find the person he'd been longing to see. You're the mystery guest, shouldn't you be the last one to show up? Where's my little fairy? The moment Nguyen Yen spotted the actor king, she rushed eagerly toward him. Actor king, I bet you don't know this, but Nguyen So and Gu Dang are always like this. They always come up with some excuse to show up late. It's those two witches who arrived late first, so don't blame me for adding fuel to the fire and stirring up public opinion. A little while later, the two of them finally arrived, running behind schedule. Before Gu Dang could even offer an explanation, Nguyen Yen had already started tossing out sarcastic jabs. No matter the reason, being late is still being late. Don't you agree, actor king? But before Nguyen Yen could even finish her sentence, the actor king, whom she'd been so eagerly trying to impress, had already dashed straight toward Gu Dang instead. Little fairy, you're finally here. Gu Dang, on the other hand, just stood there completely dumbfounded. Handsome stranger, who exactly are you? Do we even know each other? It turned out that Gu Dang had joined the reality show together with her cousin. Little did she expect the moment she arrived, she'd be welcomed with such overwhelming enthusiasm by the top idol actor himself. Without missing a beat, he pulled out an umbrella to shield her from the sun. And right after, beaming with delight, he grabbed her suitcase to carry it for her. Seeing him address her as Little Fairy every single time he opened his mouth, Gu Dang felt like her brain simply couldn't handle it anymore. Actor king, please, just go focus on your own business.